Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I know this is a late review, but this is my review of Real Housewives of Atlanta season 14 episode 10. So the episode starts out with Kandi and Kenya having a play date with their daughters Blaze and Brooklyn. And Kenya looks good. Kenya looks like she lost like a lot of weight from based on the season when she was on there with when they went to Charleston. She looks really different, but she looks good. She looks like she lost a lot of weight. I don't know how she did it in such a short time, but she looks really good. So they're talking about her hair care line, Kenya Moore Hair Care, and how she needs to find local suppliers because, due to COVID, she hasn't been getting any shipments. So she's going to work on her hair care line and try to get a team and work on the packaging and hire a COO and everything so that she can scale her business. And Kandi is a pretty good person to talk to regarding businesses because Kandi has several businesses. And then Kandi also just explains to Kenya about the situation Marlo is having with her two nephews, about how she kicked them out and everything. And Kenya didn't really say too much about it. She was just listening, as Kenya does, and she uses that when she uses the information when she needs to use the information. She didn't really give that much input at that point. And so they just start talking about that, and then they just go and play with their daughters afterwards. So now we're at Marlo's house, and her sister Crystal comes over to her house to discuss what's going on with the boys at this current moment. And Marlo shows Crystal the boys' room and how it's messy, which is, I believe, is typical young teenage boy habits. They're messy. I mean, it was messy, but it wasn't like that bad. But they should clean the room up. But anyway, Crystal explains to Marlo that she needs to be more structured with the boys and not just about their schoolwork, but as far as them cleaning and them doing chores and everything, just be on top of them and make sure that they're actually doing it. Don't just tell them and then forget about it. So they need more structure. And Crystal, I believe, is going to show them that while they're there for the 30 days. And then she also tells Marlo that she needs to work on what she says out of her mouth to the boys. Because Marlo basically says that, she doesn't have to take care of them, and she's tired of them. And that could make somebody feel horrible, especially if that's not their mom. Well, that would make them feel bad if it was their mom too, but they're in a very difficult situation, and their mom is in jail right now, and they're being taken care of by their aunt. So I don't think that's a good thing to say to them, even if you feel that way, because that could make them feel unwanted. I don't think you should say that to anybody. Any child. You should keep that to yourself, your aunt. So I don't think Marlo should do that to them. She says she's going to work on it. Hopefully she will work on it. As Marlo has stated before, she's been in foster care herself. So I would think she would understand how that would make somebody feel. And then she uses the excuse that, well, my mom mouth was that way. But that doesn't mean that you have to be that way. That's very hurtful for them to overhear that she doesn't have to take care of them. So hopefully Marlo will work on that and change the way that she speaks to them in regards to that. I'm not saying that Marlo is a bad Monty or guardian, but she admits that she speaks to them in that way, and she's going to work on it. So Marlo plans a trip for the girls to Blue Ridge Mountain, and Sheree arrives at her house. And Sheree and Marlo, they look really nice. Their makeup looks really nice. They're going to ride in style, in a Rolls Royce. And I got to give it to Marlo. From this scene, it looks like Marlo knows how to plan a getaway. And they're riding in, like I said, the Rolls Royce. Marlo sends a Aston Martin to Candy's house, orders them breakfast, some OLG wings. However, they cannot eat in the Aston Martin. And Candy is, of course, upset about that. You know, she said if she can't eat in the car, she doesn't want to ride in it. Which, I'm just like, well, Candy, her car, her rules. Marlo probably didn't know that she couldn't eat in the car, but Candy was in the back telling Marlo when she called Marlo and Sheree that why would she send a car with where she couldn't eat her food in the car. And I'm like, Candy, the driver is sitting right there. She can hear you talking about her. That is a nice car, and the interior is really light in the inside, and they had barbecue, look like honey barbecue wings. No, Candy, you cannot eat in the car. But Candy is funny. So they went in the house. It took them a whole hour to eat the chicken wings. A whole entire hour. Then they came out. And then they're riding to Blue Ridge Mountain. And Candy is telling Drew and Manietta that Marlo, put the boys out, talking to them about that situation. I don't know if that was any of their business, but she's talking to them about it. And she also, they explain, Manietta and Drew, that how Drew's mom took in her, I think, nephews, and then Manietta's mom did the same thing as well. Took in other family members. So it is hard to kind of be alone and, raise kids. However, I do understand it's probably difficult for Marlo to raise the boys on her own, but I don't like the fact that she always comes for Kenya and Mark not being with her and Mark not wanting her. But Marlo, you have no help either. You don't have any support from a spouse either. So I don't feel like Marlo has room to talk about Kenya in that way. It is difficult probably to be a single mom with no support. So for Marlo to always throw jabs at Kenya regarding Mark not wanting her, Marlo's not realizing that Kenya is married, and she also, was married to him, and she also has a child with him. So she's doing it alone by herself as well. So I think Marlo needs to rethink when she's trying to throw jabs at anybody, but Kenya especially because she doesn't have anybody to help her with her nephews. So I think Marlo just needs to be a little bit more cognizant of that and kind of, tone it down when it comes to sensitive situations like that. So they arrive at the cabin. What Marlo said was a cabin, but it's really like a house. And it's really nice. It's beautiful. Marlo has his food spread out, even though they're going to dinner. Then they have to decide on rooms. And Marlo, being Marlo, has candles. And the candles read some shady phrases. And everybody has to decide who the phrase is about. Nobody took offense to the phrases. It was just a little shady game. Everybody decided on their room and everything went smoothly. Nobody argued about the room that they got, which I'm assuming that all of the rooms are really nice. And so now they're on their way to dinner. They have they're going to ride in this van. What is it called? It's called looks like a Sprinter, if I'm not mistaken. And then they're on their way to dinner. They arrive at dinner, and Kenya comes to the trip. She arrives at dinner. She previously told Candy that she would not be attending a Marlo's trip, but then she ended up showing up. I believe she was there a day before. And, she comes to the table, and her and the ladies are happy to see her. They're excited. Marlo says she's happy to see Kenya, even though it didn't look like it. So Marlo and Kenya begins to talk, and Kenya states that she has her own house because Brooklyn is going to be with her. And based on what happened last time when they were in Charleston, South Carolina, when she brought Brooklyn, everybody had a big issue about it. But I don't think the issue was that she brought Brooklyn. I think the issue was that she didn't tell anybody else that she was bringing Brooklyn. And they would have, even though they said they didn't want to bring their children, the other ladies, Candy and Portia, wanted the opportunity, the invitation, the choice to bring their children. And so they were upset about that, not the fact that Brooklyn was there, to my understanding. I don't see anything wrong with Kenya bringing her child because Kenya does not have any support. Let's just be honest. She has no support. Her family doesn't live there. Brooklyn was young, like a little baby at the time. Young enough to where Kenya did not want to leave her for a long period of time. I think they went there for 3 days or 5 days. She didn't want to be from her daughter that long with a nanny, somebody who's not related or she doesn't really feel comfortable. And I didn't, I agreed with her. She should have brought Brooklyn. Even this trip, she brought Brooklyn again. If that makes her feel comfortable, by all means, bring Brooklyn. Candy, on the other hand, she has her mom. She has her husband. She has family that she can leave her kids with. Portia, when she was on the show, she has her mom. She has Dennis, her family, her sister, Lauren, who she can leave her daughter with. So they have people to support them in that way. But Kenya does not have any support in that way as far as family and grandparents and sisters that she can leave Brooklyn with. So I don't think it's wrong for her to bring Brooklyn. Now, everybody, including Marlo, says that she wants Kenya to stay at the house. And there's no problem with Brooklyn being at the house, to stay with the ladies. And also, another issue was Kenya went upstairs when Brooklyn was inside the house. Brooklyn was already at the house, so Kenya went upstairs and didn't come back downstairs and didn't tell the ladies that she was going to call it a night and, go to bed with Brooklyn. So that's why they were upset as well. But Kenya does not want to stay at Marlo's house, even though she's welcome to, and Brooklyn is welcome. She doesn't want to stay there. And I see both sides because Marlo, it's like, she says she wants Kenya to stay there, but in my opinion, I don't think she wants Kenya to stay there for the right reason. I feel like Marlo wants Kenya to stay there so that she'll have, somebody to, for lack of a better word, be her punching bag. Somebody she can jab, somebody that she can talk about, somebody that she can make them a scene for. Based on what happened at Sheree's party, it's like Marlo was just jabbing Kenya, going for the jugular for no reason. So I understand why Kenya would not want to stay in the house with Marlo, because it's going to be just about Marlo and Kenya going back and forth. So I understand Kenya's point. But I also understand Marlo's point is that if you're not going to come and participate with all the activities and everything, you're not going to stay at the house, and it's my trip, then I don't want you to come and participate in the other events. And I do agree with that as well, because it is Marlo's trip. And to be quite honest with you, if it was Kenya's trip, I'm pretty sure 9 times out of 10, Kenya would say the same thing. Well, Marlo, if you're not going to do this, then don't participate. That's something that Kenya would do. That's just my opinion. I feel like Kenya would do the same thing. So I feel like Kenya, when she said she wasn't going to come on a trip, I was kind of happy, because I was like, well, that's good, because now Marlo has to find something else to talk about, or find somebody else to talk about. She won't be able to talk about Kenya. But now that Kenya is there, she's going to use Kenya, I don't know what's going to happen, but it seems like she would use Kenya to be, the person that she goes after. And I don't like that, because Marlo goes too low. It's one thing to have a banter back and forth with somebody, but Marlo is below the belt, and I don't like that. So Kenya explains her feelings to Marlo as to why they are in the situation that they're in, and why she believes Marlo is not sincere. Marlo's not a good friend. Marlo's toxic. Marlo lied about saying that Kenya wasn't pregnant, and Kenya said that she forgave her. She also said that she understands why Kenya's mother doesn't like her, and that is very low. So Marlo is very hurtful with her words. Kenya is petty with the stuff that she does, as far as bringing that marching band to Marlo's event. Now, that was petty. Very petty. I'm not going to say that's a low. It was like it wasn't funny to Marlo, because if that was my opinion, I wouldn't think it's funny. But it wasn't something to where it's like something that's like traumatic, in my opinion. Maybe it was traumatic for Marlo, but when you talk about people's mom and child and stuff like that, that's really hurtful. So Kenya was explaining to Marlo that's why, things are the way that they are, and that's why she really don't care to be her friend. She tried it, but Marlo keeps going backwards. And Marlo explains to Kenya that she has trust issues. And she tried to loop Kenya in and say, yeah, we both have trust issues. We both have insecurities, And Kenya, at the end of the day, I don't think Kenya wants to be friends with Marlo, because Marlo keeps going backwards. Every chance Marlo gets, she jabs at Kenya. So I do understand where Kenya is coming from. Even though over the years Kenya has been the villain of the show, when it comes to Marlo and Kenya, I understand why Kenya does not want to be Marlo's friend. It's like there's no resolve. They resolved it, and then it goes back to Marlo, going after Kenya. Kenya really, if you think about it, after they, kind of resolved the issue about the marching band and things that were going on in past seasons, Kenya was doing okay. She was not talking about Marlo, but then Marlo finds a way to say something about Kenya every single time, and it's very old. So I do understand where Kenya is coming from, and I also understand where Marlo's coming from, as far as if you're not going to participate, then if you're not going to stay at the house, and I don't want you to participate in my events. It's Marlo's trip at the end of the day. So we'll see what happens in the next episode, but I just hope that Marlo, once she watches the show back, that she sees how it looks, to where she's just throwing jabs and throwing jabs and throwing jabs, and very low jabs. I mean, she's uppercutting Kenya with those jabs, and it's very hurtful. So that's my review of this episode. I'll see you guys in the next episode. If you like this audio review, like, share, subscribe, comment down below, because I want to hear your thoughts. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.